Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So I'm going to go ahead and get moving this morning on my grass harvest because I am a little bit time bound because I am leaving for the week later today. So I'm going to see. I don't think I'm going to have a problem getting what I need done, which is harvesting, but it's going to take a little bit longer just because of the method I'm doing to get the information I need to get. So I am going to start the new field first, which obviously has no silos near it right now. And you might be thinking, well, you can remedy that because you can just go ahead and put one up and, put one, put two, whatever it is. And I could, but that won't give me the proper alignment because I just don't really know. I have an estimate of what I think I'm going to get off that field. And so again, between these, given that I've gotten 310,000, let's say, being super conservative, given that that's like 1.7 times larger, in theory I should be 1.7 times larger in harvest. So I should be about 550, which puts me in the realm of the medium silos. So I believe, and if I had to make a choice, that would be the choice I would do. And because of the processing, just as with what I did with the small silos, which was done also for other reasons other than simply that it's more efficient productively. Obviously, selling the small and just upgrading to a medium would have slowed me down. Alright, so the nice thing here is obviously I've got substantially cleaner edges, at least over here. I think over there it's going to be the same type of thing. Although I think I do have more room on that side. Not planning on heading over there early, so I don't think I'm going to hit that early. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and try to learn the width of my field. There's always a certain point past the edge that is still mowable and collectible, as we've had all around, and as everyone has been doing. Now, once again, I'm going to go ahead and worry about down here as well. So I'm going to work the bottom side of the field. So it's taken quite a while, but I've gotten done with mainly the bottom edge. I've done a little bit on the two sides. So I ran another pass just because I was down here and then heading up from the bottom to go up to the top. I ran a second pass up on the edge there. I ran one pass on the edge by the trees, and yes, the trees are as close there as they are in the other fields, so I'm gonna kind of work that the same way. And then at this point, I'm going ahead and starting my rows. I've got approximately 70 to 80 rows across the field, and that's with the tapered edge over there, so there's going to be a lot, probably 20 of those rows are going to be partial, if not more, because of the way the field is tapered. I'm currently on my 5th load, so I got about 3.5 loads full without touching the field, basically. So quite a lot, certainly more than the other fields that I have, but once again, I wouldn't have really expected anything different. So I think at best I get maybe 2 loads off of the edges of all the other 3 fields together. Right. So the other thing I'm doing, because of the distance, I'm turning off the front mower, even though it's elevated and it's not mowing, because there is a difference. Once I kind of get up to speed, you'll see instead of at 95%, I drop down to like 40% as far as what the engine is using as power, and that stays up at like 70% otherwise. As you can see here now, I'm at like 44, 45. And what that allows, I think, right or wrong, I mean, it's not going to hurt anything, but I think it's going to save on quite a bit of fuel with what I'm doing now. Now, once I have silos over there, I may do the same thing I was doing here, which was really not worrying about turning that off because it's such a short run. I've got some ideas. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to place 2 silos over there. I'm going to do the first one when I need to, but my hope is that I can know exactly what my quantity will be over there. These fields are now fully limed and fully fertilized, and what that means is that they're going to be most likely as productive as they're ever going to be. So this should be my top end range. I should then be slowly getting a little bit less as the lime wears off each cycle. But what I have over there with 2 silos now, and this gets to the part I'm going to talk about next, is some of the benefits of doing the silos the way I'm doing them versus what might seem to be the more obvious choice. So because I have 2 small silos instead of a medium silo, I have a capacity of basically 676,000 liters, which I don't think is what I'm going to get off this field. I think I'm going to get something less than that. So I should be able to get all of the grass in this field in those 2 silos and know exactly what my yield off this field is before I even have to contemplate placing my first silo. The other benefit that comes with that is there's also more production capability off of the silos. A small silo will do 84,500 roughly, where a medium silo does 141,240 liters in a month. And so I can get 169,000 liters of production with 2 small silos versus 141,240 with 1 medium silo. And that pattern continues where if I do 2 mediums instead of a large, I get more capacity, turn off my mower, and I get more production. So all in all, things are better improved. Now, the one downside is the production costs are certainly higher because the production costs for the silos respectively are 120 a day, 168, and 240. So for those 2 small production silos, I'm paying the production capacity as if I just had 1 large production silo. And in that case, I am getting less production out of it, as I'm only getting 169,000, where a large silo would be getting me 231,000. So if that were my metric, then yes, that is a downside, but we're talking about hundreds of dollars versus tens of thousands of liters. So the decision point is a little simpler. If I didn't have enough room, certainly going with the larger silo might make a lot clearer sense. But it's for those reasons that I believe what I'm going to need to do, because I'm estimating, as I said, that I'm going to get between 500 and 600,000 liters off of this field. But the production capability of a medium silo and even a large silo is 141 or 231. Neither one of those would get through all of the grass and turn it into silage in the 2-day cycles I'm on. And so that is really the thing I'm targeting. So I'm kind of creating a bit of overproduction, knowing that in the winter I won't have the silo producing. Even now, the 2 silos, when I started this morning, they were done. They had completed everything. So it only starts to get to that point, when I have a lot of silage. So I could perhaps get by with a little less in silo capacity, but I don't think, for again walking that fine line and then what that would create would be a situation that I would have to use every month of the year for production. Everything would have to go perfectly. It would also mean that I'd have less flexibility to wait a little bit at certain times of the year to just sell the silage later when the price is a little bit higher, so that once again I stay within the realm of those folks who are choosing to store things or do other things to try to increase their profits. So you now understand what I'm going to be doing and what I'm trying to do. For those who may have not been keeping track, this is load number 7. So, and just as a reminder, off the other fields, I was getting 18 or 19 a harvest plus another partial load. So I didn't quite get 20. I'm thinking I'm going to be between 50 and 60 in the entire harvest here. Now, for those who are curious, there are no contracts that are actually available right now. Now, even if there were, just because of the time constraints I have, the job I must get done is this. Contracts are simply an added benefit at this point, but it would be foolish for me to leave grass on the field when I'm gone and miss an entire grass harvest to simply get a $7,000 harvesting contract, for example. And given that with this process of running all this grass across the river and over to the other silos, I'm probably taking 2 to 3 minutes each time to run over there and do that. So, you know, just in the 7 times I've done it, for example, that's 21 minutes is likely what I've already spent of time doing that. So you can get to understand, as you multiply that over, I'm probably going to have an hour and a half of additional time added to this harvest because I don't have silos on this side of the river right now. But that's what I feel I need to do to really properly make the determination of what I want to do. I could certainly take the easy route and say, yep, this is a really good estimate. Again, I'm very much a data person, so I'm acting on the data, and I have an opportunity to get accurate data to make as fully of an informed decision as I possibly can. Now, I did have the blessing of having one harvest contract that I was able to do yesterday that got me enough cash that at this point I think I'm going to be able to get through the period where I'll be gone, where we're simply going to be paying the production costs of these silos and get through that without going too far into the negative. I think I may go a little bit in with the addition of these 2 silos. If I didn't have to add any silos, I think I would be fine with this 8,000 that I have left, because we're basically going to have, I think, 5 days that I'm going to be pulling things out, and my production amounts are running at about $700 or so. Actually, they might be... No, I think that's about what they are, because my loan interest is also right at that amount, so that's coming out as well. So I think between the production cost and the loan interest, I'm probably at a little over 1,000 a day. So I should be okay, but again, the production silos adding 168 twice, so basically a little under 340, is going to make it close, because that's going to add another $1,500 to the cost. I'm going to have to add debt to go ahead and buy those silos. And in this case, as opposed to the 2 small silos, each being $60,000 and costing me $120, and therefore exceeding the amount slightly that it would cost me to just have put 1 medium silo in, but I felt that was good because of the added production, so I felt it was actually a justified premium to pay for those silos, because I get more capacity and I get more production output. But I'm going to be paying a little more than $100, or a little less than $100 a day in additional production costs. And in the case of the 2 medium silos, they're $100,000 each versus $200,000 for the large. It's going to be the same cost as if I put in 1 large, but I'm going to have higher capacity and I'm going to have more production. So that is a much easier decision. So that is likely what you're going to see, but I will be back here again once I know what I have off this field, as I'm going to place my first silo. And so I'll fill you in where I'm at then. You'll see where I'm at. I should be running straight through, so you can see it's 5:17 right now on the server. I'm not honestly sure exactly when I started. I know it was 4 something. I don't think it was all the way back to 4:17, but it may have been. I'm certainly coming up close on an hour of already working on things to get this far. And it may be that it's going to take me 5 or 6 hours to process these fields each time. Obviously it will be slower than this time because I'm going to have silos here. So obviously this field mainly will get delivered here, the other fields will get delivered to the other silos. That should likely take care of everything. Each side of the river should be somewhat self-sufficient. So I'm going to step away for a little bit now, focus on the work, get things done, but you'll be able to have an idea of how long it took me to get this field done, and more importantly, we'll know exactly what I got off this field in yield. So I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so as always, I'm going to pivot a bit in that I think I've got enough information to realize I'm going to need 2 medium silos, because right now at this point I've now gotten 12. This is my 13th load that I've started working on, so I'm halfway done. It's taking about two passes on the field to fill. So you can see I've probably got 2 more loads before I start to get to the taper, and then I go off. But even now, I'm on my 12th load. I had 3.5 that was off the field before. So if I take that away and just say I have 9 on the field, knowing that there's basically 3 rows, I skip 3 rows with the way I mow. So that means I have 27 loads from here over to where you can see to the top end of the field. Plus I have all this stuff over here, that's just going to increase that. So obviously, I'm getting close to that amount, but I think the 510 is going to be realistic, and so I'm looking at, with everything off the field, maybe 850 between both my fields. So 310 over there, and then the remainder over here. So that would be like 550 over here, and 310 over there. So that would really mean I'd like that capacity to churn through my silos in a couple days. Now I could extend that it's a little longer. If I have 2 mediums and 2 smalls, I can do 900 and 2000. So if I'm somehow off, because in the best case scenario, I think I might get as high as 890. I don't know that I'll get that close, but then I'd be within 12,000 liters. But either way, it's not like I've got 100,000 liters of extra capacity. But what I started to realize is if I take this entire field over there, I'm going to have basically filled those 2 silos, and what that turns into is then that entire harvest over there has to be trucked over here to the river to these silos. And given that I'm under a time constraint, I'm really, really running the risk that I won't get everything done. So I'm going to place, at least one of the silos here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and place both. I know I need both, so it's not as if I'm assuming I don't. So let's go ahead and get that done. And then I'm going to start distributing the rest of the field here. That'll speed things up. Yes, I'm overburdened on those other 2 silos right now, but that's just kind of cost of doing business, of figuring out and kind of giving myself a little bit of time to see what was happening to get what I needed there. Alright, so part of the reason I was mowing on the south end here is I think I wanted one of these silos over here. So I'm going to go ahead and place this here. And then similarly, I'm going to go ahead, I've got this little indent in the trees, and I own basically until the drop-off. So it's a large area here. So I'm going to place the second one here. All right, and then that basically gives me the ability to do what I need, but this gives the ability here to go ahead and start dropping things off here. Obviously the things here are going to be closer to the sell points as well, which also only helps. So, you know, it's nice having this large field over here as opposed to further away. But more importantly, I won't overburden those other silos that have a slower capacity or a slower throughput, and I can get these going. And I may end up, you know, throwing a few more loads over here from the other side, but it'll just be, you know, maybe 5 or 6 loads that I'll run over here. But I think I have enough capacity over there, so I'm going to be a little heavy on the silo over there and running into winter. But once again, I'm not here. It doesn't really matter that much. So at this point, I am set with what I need for building placement. So again, we've got one there by the river, and then you know, one over there toward that other corner of my field. You know, that will help things out at that point, and then I should be good to go. And the thing is, like, now I know I can do this and it will work properly, and I have, more importantly, I have enough time to get done before we have to move. You know, I'm like on autopilot. I drove over here and I'm not delivering this over here, but I have 415,000 in my loan balance. So at this point, I'm just going to continue. I'm going to finish, and all I've got left to share with you, since I've got everything constructed and placed, and I've got my production estimates and so forth going, is I just need to explain what I got at the end. So that will be when I'll be back, is to just give you the final information of what the actual harvest was, and hopefully not off too far from what it appeared that we were headed toward. So I'll see you in a bit. I am back here. As you can see, I've got a bit left here. I may have a full trailer or may not. We'll have to see how this plays out. So at this point, I have delivered 52 loads to the silos. So everything's kind of worked out about as I was working through things where it ended up. So it's certainly close enough that it was very close. You know, we did 18 to 19 and then a little bit more. So really, you know, conservatively 18, that would be 3 times would be 54. We're going to end up very close to 53. So we're very, very close to 3 times the grass, even though we have less than, you know, we had 2.7 times the field. So, and it's just the large space around 36 over there that is letting me get additional material off. But you can see here, you know, the edges are already trimmed, so there's nothing really to grab there. I don't think we're going to fill up, given what I've seen. We weren't even at 50% yet. Obviously, we're getting shorter and shorter rows here. I think it takes 4 or 5 rows when they're full to get close to filling. So this will be 52, and whatever we end up here is what we're going to see. So I think we're going to be over 10,000, but we're not going to make it to 16. Okay, so I ended up with 849,323 liters of grass. So that's kind of going to be the assumption of where we're at. I'm not going to track as diligently going forward, just because that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do. So at some point here, I'm going to have to, if I can, fertilize. So I'm going to certainly do that, or at least attempt to do that, because the time did take. I did not step away, so you can see kind of where things are at. We took a little over 5 more hours. You know, I had maybe an hour or a little bit less than that originally, so it's really right around the 6 hours I was thinking. It's a lot of time. I'm not going to lie. It it's a lot of stuff just driving up and down the field, running back to silos and so forth. But you know, it certainly, I think, puts me in the spot, you know, that I'm pretty comfortable. It's going to be generating a lot of cash and going forward from there. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and wait for now. I'm going to do the fertilizer later, but I just wanted to give you the update of where we ended up. Everything is processing, but at this point, you know, I'm going to miss the next harvest in 2 days because I'm not going to be here, and then I'll just deal with the grass when I get back, which is why I want to try to fertilize before I go, so at least that I get a full yield. Otherwise, we're going to lose 10 or 15%, which at this point, you know, is 80 or 90,000 liters, which is not insubstantial, and it shouldn't take me that terribly long, so I think I'll be okay. But at this point, I'm going to let you go, and I will see you next time.